Hello, everyone. Property Bants and Rants this week, and I'm very, very happy to have my one of my favourite guests. I know he's going to be my favourite guest. It's Rowan Waller. So have I pronounced that right? Or is it Waller?
Rowan Waller, yeah.
Rowan Waller. Rowan, thank you so much for coming on board. Been looking forward to this chat today. So thank you. And you wore a great shirt, to liven everyone up as well. So that's
to be honest, amazing. I thought it was a shirt for radio. I didn't know it was going to be filmed. So yeah, enjoy it.
That's what people say to me. I've got a face for the radio, they say, but I'm coming out there and I'm going to be on podcast now, so you can all see us. So Rowan, first thing to ask you is, how did you get? Tell us what you do now. Why do you work? What's your position in the company? And then tell us how you got to that stage.
So I own a small, I think a very small estate agency firm in Oxfordshire. So we're 2 offices, and I set that up in 2014. So I suppose I am the founder director of my own small firm.
Yeah, your empire,
my little beast.
Yeah, that's right. So how did you get to that stage, though?
So I'm a career estate agent. So I kind of dropped into estate agency not long after uni. So a year doing some other stuff. And then 2005, so at the age of 22, 23, I started working for a countrywide subsidiary over in Suffolk. So it was Abbott's Countrywide. I was under Angie Green, who was the manager at Stowmarket. And then I went from being her, junior neg and rose up through the ranks, and they had me listing actually after 3 months. So they must have seen something in me. Yeah, I just wanted to get my bronze, silver, and gold and become a senior neg. But I didn't really know. I didn't know anything back then. And so Mark Ewan,
I'm sorry, but this is
I said you need to rein me in. So
no, it's right. What made that transition so fast though? Because that's very fast.
No, I don't know. And you'll have to ask Mark. So Mark Ewan, who was my regional manager, and he now owns Mark Ewan in Bury St Edmunds, and smashes the Esters every year. So he's a great estate agent. He wanted me listing after 3 months, and because I was 23, I said, "Are you sure? Because I don't think anyone's going to take me seriously." And he assured me that they would, and then they did. So I quickly became a really good lister. So I constantly did well listing for Abbott's, and I was there for 4 or 5 years. And then, life circumstances took us across the country, and I left and then went to Chancellor's, and then took my first manager's job. So I suppose under Angie, I never was officially an assistant manager, but I certainly kind of became her number 2, because I became the majority lister in that office. And I think just having a background in listing is what you need if you're going to, I think, push on through a career in a estate agency. If it's going to get to this stage where you're running your own, if you can't get the property on, you're never going to get any property, are you? So and certainly, unless you go in and open and then employ someone straight away to go listing for you, then it's down to you. So
okay. Yeah. So number 1 learning there, age is never a barrier. So you're 23, you went straight to listing. So that's really good. So next thing I'm going to ask you, is what are the biggest issues for sales industry at the moment? What's the biggest issues at the moment? Name me two of the biggest things, please.
Two of the biggest things. Well, I think 2 of the biggest things are negativity in the press that the general public like to latch onto, and I just think that there's too much importance given to predictions of what the market's going to do, and actually people need to make decisions. And this is my biggest issue with the property market in general, is that property is kind of a bit of a commodity. It's a commodity market, and people get overly hung up on value. And it's such a temporal thing. The value of a property is different tomorrow, and it's different to what it was yesterday. It changes all the time by minuscule amounts. But over the course of a few months, it might change. But ultimately, does it change someone's reason for wanting to move? And I think if people could just think about what are they trying to achieve? What is it that's driving them to move? If they need more space, or they need less space, or they need that job move, or whatever it might be. It's not really going to matter if they wait 6 months or a year, or it might make a difference if they wait 2 or 3 years. Then you'll see a significant amount of change in whatever prices are doing.
So for most people, unless you're flipping it, unless you're buying it to sell on at a profit straight away, it's not really going to make a difference.
It doesn't make much difference, right, and that's nowhere near the majority of what we do. We're mainly dealing with owner occupiers who are moving for. So I'm in a kind of a sort of a pragmatic end of the market. So we deal principally with entry level up to mid. Don't really go into the elite end of the market.
So Rowan, let me ask you a question then. How do you solve that problem? So you got that problem, and when your team go out and you're trying to get property on, and you're trying to get offers on the property, how do you deal with that?
Well, this is it, because you asked for two problems, and my two problems are at two extremes. So you've got this negativity in the market saying that prices are crumbling under our feet and dropping 35% and whatever else other people are saying is happening, and people worrying that that's what's happening. At the other end of the market, you've got, listen, I actually think prices are coming down, and they're coming down a bit, but not racing down. So I'm trying to educate my sellers and educate buyers. I'm going to try to educate sellers not to worry. Prices are falling, but it's not making a huge difference to where it was a month ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago. Try to educate buyers and saying, look, prices, I know you're hearing 35%, but there is no way that my seller is going to take £400,000 when it's on the market for £600,000. So there's just no point. So don't listen to him on YouTube. Listen to what's going on around you. Do your research, and let's talk sensible. At the same time, we're dealing with sellers who are seeing 3 or 4 estate agents. And the trouble with estate agents is that there's kind of no accountability. There's no real accountability. So estate agent's principal role is to get a property on, and then hopefully they'll sell it in a estate agency, right? And that's what we can be up against if they're speaking to certain estate agents who are still going out saying, oh, no, don't worry, the market's flying, and we're going to get such and such amount of money. And sellers want to believe it. So we've got this. I've got this kind of this split double-edged sword where we're dealing with a negative market that is in decline, and we should recognise that and be sensible about pricing. But at the same time, if you're trying to get something on at the right price, but you're up against someone who's saying, no, don't worry, we'll get you this, then there's a bit of you've got quite a battle. You've got an uphill battle to convince that person to listen to you and put it on at what is the right price. And if they are going to try this, the problem is they're getting locked into 20-week, 26-week agreements, and then they'll probably come down 3 weeks later when the estate agent says, "Oh, you know what? The market's changed. It's a little bit more negative and such and such." And
I suppose when it's a rising market, you could. I mean, I was an agent for a long time, and you could afford to do that. I'm not saying I did it, but I said lots of agents would do it because the market would catch up.
Yeah, Tony. I'm not saying I did it either. I'm not saying I did it either. But
of course, let's make that clear.
Yeah,
but that's right. But in this sort of market, I agree with you 100%, Ron, because all that does, taking the property on the wrong price, all it does is get you very frustrated vendors. Because they'll say, well, you told me I could get that, and they base their whole life and their next steps in the moving process on what you tell them, and then they're just very upset, or you end up getting too much stock, but it doesn't sell. So what's the point of having too much stock and it doesn't sell? You get lots of frustrated people.
You get a big magnet that draws people to you, and this is and so it's my frustration with some elements, some parts of the industry, and it's a part of the industry that I was in for years, is that it's a volume driven model, and actually the sales targets are 50% of what they take on. But they're getting so much on, they can afford to take 50 because they're still making huge profits. Don't matter about the 50% that drop off. And they'll try and manage them, and they'll get them into 26-week agreements, and they'll start managing them down. And at some point, they'll either come into something that's sellable or not. And, the idea is that they never make promises about what the value is. It's all about, look, let's give it a go. The market's probably, we can try, let's be positive. And they, in theory, have never said the word value. And when the sellers argue, oh, but you said it was worth this much money, they're able to say, oh, no, I never said it was worth that much money. I said that we should try this much money. But, let's look, and these are this advice, this is what we've done. And it's
So don't you find that just clogs the pipeline, doesn't it? Because you got too much on. I mean,
it's probably my pipeline, but this is a problem we used to have. But the reality is, in those models, the person who had that conversation they're not really dealing with that seller ever again. They've got them signed up, they've done their job, and they got paid for that probably. In some situations, they actually get paid for every time they get listing, they get paid for it. And I think that's.
Do you mean people within
a problem?
Yeah, people within the business are incentivized not necessarily to sell.
So some employed estate agents, there is an incentive just to get something listed. They get maybe they get £100 listing or whatever it might be. Yeah. And the problem is that the temptation presumably is to do whatever you need to get that person on. Yeah. And give them the listing price and get it listed. Then it's someone else's job to then manage that sale into a position where, because you've got the negs then really who are doing the viewings, getting the feedback, or not getting viewings and not getting feedback, but it's still their job to call them every Tuesday and go, oh, this is the this is the reality at the moment. You've had no viewings this week. You've actually had no click rates, 30% lower than average, and I think you need to take a drop in price. And when they want to speak to the manager, who effectively is a lister, they can't, because that guy or girl is out doing 100 and 120 valuations, and they ain't got time to actually speak to the clients. No. So there's something broken about that model, but it's a money making model, which is why it persists.
I understand. Rowan, running a business, you're a business owner. Running a business, what's your biggest problem at the moment? Do you think just running the? I'm talking about the business, not talking about agency, but generally speaking, what is it? Is it cash flow? Is it what is it?
My biggest issue recently has been cash flow. So we had the trust grenade that exploded the market in September, and we lost 8 deals out of our pipeline.
Oh wow!
In one go, so we lost it was 35 grand, I think.
Yeah.
And that was all money that we were expecting to get through before Christmas. So we were suddenly scraping around trying to make what we had in the bank, last us through till Christmas, and unable to then rely on sales that were coming through in September and October. The sales agreed, because nobody wanted to buy a house when interest rates went from 0.1% to whatever 3%, and mortgage rates went from 1.7% to 6.5%. So all of a sudden, the buyers just stopped doing anything. So we put very, very little into the pipeline October, November. And then things started to sell again in December. We had a better December than we normally do. But nevertheless, conveyancing does take some time. And even if it's quick like you, Tony, it's still taking, 3 months to go through. So the money that we're not making now is from
So on that point, I want to get back to that, because that's really important. Because cash is king, isn't it? Now, we can all have great businesses, but unless we're getting our deals through to completion, we don't get paid.
We don't get paid, and when we are getting paid, we're getting paid 3, 4, 5, 6 months after a deal went in the pipeline.
Exactly.
So the money that we're not making now is from the deals that weren't happening in October. And that's the problem. And now they're starting to come through because of what we were putting in December, January is we're looking like it's going to start to fall through in April, May.
There was some interesting information by Rightmove on the 6th of April. Okay, and they found that average properties in the UK were taking about 65 days to sell, and then average time to get to completion is 165 days.
So that's almost a half year.
It's 5.5 months. So you're looking at getting a property on. You're not looking at earning on that property until 7 months' time. So absolutely right, Rowan. Cash flow is everything. That's why you've got to get the property on at the right price. That's right. Okay. So next thing for you, Rowan. Now, obviously, to run your own business, you've got to have that certain quality about you. What mindset do you need? What characteristics do you think you need to be a good agent and a good business owner? What do you need in your head?
You have to be able to tap dance for a start across all sorts of different things. But you have to. I've just learned how to be super resilient,
right?
And it is. And I don't know. And I've thought. I mean, not just once or twice in the 10 years I've been open. I've been looking at hitting the wall, and you've got to somehow be brave enough or stupid enough to carry on going and until it gets better. And fortunately it has always got better. I've always managed to drop over the other side, but sometimes it has been so hard. It's been so hard, and I've surprised myself several times that I'm still going. And even in the last couple of months that would have been the case, where I was looking at a non-existent pipeline with a low stock level, saying to the guys, we are going to go bust if we do not put some properties on and get them in the pipeline. I can't afford to keep on, I can't afford to keep on paying. It just costs a lot of money to run a business. And yet we've somehow, by hook or by crook, by hook, not by crook, but we have survived and got through it. And now we're looking fairly rosy going forward. So you've got to be resilient, and you've also got to be able to handle this roller coaster and not puke up on it, because it does throw you about all over the place.
Exactly right. So I want to pick up 2 things there. First of all, I think resilience is one of the most important things in life generally, because it's like the old Rocky quote, isn't it? It's you've got to keep on going. When you get knocked down, you've got to keep on getting back up.
It's not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can
you even said it like Rocky. You even said it like Rocky. Okay, so that's it. And the other thing is about up and down. Life is up and down, peaks, and they say people want life like this, straight line, but straight lines don't happen. Straight line is this is a sign of life. Up and down, a sign of life.
Straight lines are also really boring. So
Exactly.
I think that I couldn't engage with that. There's something that's kind of addictive about this this kind of constant war that I don't know. It's perverse, but it's fun.
But they say it's the journey, isn't it? It's not the end result, because then ultimately it's your journey in life that actually makes you a better person, and you end up enjoying. You don't end up, it's nice to have the rewards, but how long do you remember the new watch, the new car, the new shoes? You don't remember it, because as soon as you get it, you want the next thing. It's just human nature. But you do remember, you know what? I pulled that off. I really worked hard. I made the extra calls. That really works for me. So one final question, Rowan. One final question for you is, to our listeners, what purchase have you had for under £100 that you would recommend, and it changed your life, but it was only less than £100? What was it for you, Rowan?
Less than £100. Okay. Well, I didn't purchase it myself, but I would bet it's under £100. It certainly would have been then, because it's about 20 years old. But my little brother bought me a rice cooker. He bought me and my wife a rice cooker as a present 20 years ago, when we were complaining about our stodgy rice. And it's absolutely it's changed our life. It comes out 5 times a week, that rice cooker. And I would recommend if anyone who likes cooking, especially anyone who likes cooking a curry, get a rice cooker. That is the best investment you'll make in your kitchen.
Rowan, thank you very much. Not only you put our listeners in a better place, you've made them more healthy and easier to cook as well. So
well,
Rowan,
I can always take out the rice cooker and then fry it afterwards. But
oh my gosh, look at that, even more. Rowan, I can see a cooking program for you in the future, but it's got to have just rice in. That's the thing. Rowan, nice seeing you.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me.
See you later. Bye-bye.